New York. And let me ask you your position on this, because the U.S. does have this $1.5 billion in aid. It's fully 20% of the military budget, pretty significant in terms of total dollars over there. What kind of leverage does the United States have at this point as we're seeing this crisis unfold?
We have leverage, and it's worked before. I was the guy who several years ago called for a reduction in U.S. aid to Egypt because the Egyptian government was not enforcing tunnels being dug from Rafah, Egypt, into Israel, through which all sorts of things, or into Gaza, through which all sorts of bombs and armaments were being smuggled. I advocated a reduction of $200 million in aid to Egypt. The Egyptian government responded, not perfectly, but that proved that the Egyptian government can respond when we use our leverage appropriately. The other thing is, very briefly, the world is more stable when the Middle East is stable. The Middle East can only be stable when Egypt is stable. Right now, it's not stable. We need to use all the tools in our toolbox to get it on a path towards stability.
So when you say use that appropriately, would that be some sort of conditional agreement that you would want to forge with Egypt and say, the money's gone now, here's what you have to do to get it back?
I would use the precedent that worked before, whether it's conditional. And in fact, what we did before, and again, I was the guy who led the fight on this, we reduced foreign military financing by $200 million until the government of Egypt demonstrated better capabilities and capacity to stop the smuggling of arms from Rafah, Egypt, into Gaza. That worked before to a certain extent. I would use the same kind of strategic view and application to the conditions now.
You know what the argument is on the other side, though, that this is going to cut off any lingering influence that we might have, that we need to continue the open lines of communication, that we need to have some sort of relationship, because moving forward, obviously, we don't want to be cut off from any influence in that country. What do you say to those critics who say that's the wrong way to approach this?
Well, first, doing nothing is never a good strategy. Secondly, we have that precedent. We did call for a reduction in $200 million. We made it conditional on improved behavior and conduct, on safety and security issues, and the Egyptians responded. So there is precedent for the strategic and sensible and calibrated use of U.S. aid to achieve better outcomes. And if it worked before, we had to try it again.
Congressman Steve Israel, always good to have you on the program. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chris.